Hello, hello, hello. I'm Vivian McGrath from vivianmcgrath.com. And I want to talk about how the two-letter word no absolutely liberated my life. Everything. Liberated me in life and love. Do you know this scenario? It's 4 p.m. on a Friday, and out of the corner of your eye, you see one of your colleagues walking towards you, and you think, oh no, and you try to busy yourself and put your head down and just don't let them see you because you're filled with dread. And they say, hey, and you look at them with dread and they say, I've got this really urgent report that I need to submit on Monday, and I'd love it if you would help me with whatever it is you're good at helping them with. And you sit there, you've got plans already, you've been waiting for them, you've been excited about them, but still, you know they're going to go by the wayside, but you say, sure. And then you feel sick as everybody else leaves the office for their weekend, but you. Or another time, I'll think of another example, when a friend calls, hey, can I leave Bella with you for a while? And by a while, you know she means the whole of the afternoon. And again, you say, okay, whilst you quietly churn inside, because whilst you've become her de facto babysitter, she never reciprocates the favour for your child. She always dumps the child on you. Or how about that sibling who forever borrows your clothes, never washes them, borrows money, borrows your car, whatever. And it drives you crazy that they always expect you to bail them out for whatever it is, an outfit, a car, money, when you've worked so hard. And frankly, they're pretty lazy, but you still dig into your pocketbook anyways. And then just vent about it to others because you're so annoyed by them. How often have you done anything like this? Does this sound familiar to you, where you say yes when you really want to say no? How often have you found yourself being a people pleaser like this? Me, I was for years. And how often do you put other people's needs first, and worse, way above your own health and well-being at your expense? Learning to say no was one of the hardest words I've ever learned. It's ridiculous. It's just no. It's two letters. But it was one of the hardest things I ever learned, because I equated saying no with confrontation. And yes, setting boundaries. And it really, really frightened me, because for a long time, I didn't even know what boundaries were, let alone that I had none that were there to protect me. I literally had zero boundaries. And that left me very, very, very vulnerable, because narcissists and or manipulative people or bullies, they just used to hone in on me. They just could see me a mile away, and they'd test my boundaries to see how weak they were. And because they were non-existent, they would just crash right through them. You know, friends or colleagues would just take advantage of my good nature and tendency to put others first. And that just, I was always glad to do it, but it did leave me frustrated and exhausted and thinking, when is anyone going to actually care about me? And the worst thing was that men would prey on me and hurt me. I mean, they could see a mile away something that I couldn't see, which is that I had no self-esteem and no boundaries. So when I first met my ex, he tested them right from the start. You know, he didn't like what I wore, so I changed what I dressed, which was telegraphing to him, test my boundaries, I'll let it fall and I'll change my behavior to please you. So I changed what I wore. He told me, he'd love to tell me that I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth and that I was spoiled and that my family didn't have my best interests at heart, only he did. And so he successfully isolated me from friends and family. And I stopped seeing so much of them, which made me even more vulnerable to his coercive control and brainwashing and controlling behavior. He'd go hot and cold on me, and then I would make excuses rather than see that as a red line that is unacceptable, that he'd crossed. Or he'd get angry, and I'd believe his promises that it would never, ever, ever happen again. And with each boundary that I let fall, and I say those words deliberately, that I let fall, his behavior just got worse. And I'm not saying I was to blame for it. Nobody's to blame for coercive control, emotional manipulation, or whatever. But I was giving him permission with every time he tested a boundary and I let it fall, and he crashed through it, and I didn't say anything or put that boundary back up. I was subconsciously and unwittingly giving him permission to keep pushing and crashing them without knowing it. And so he kept doing it until he got to the point where my self-esteem was completely shattered. There was nothing of me left. You see, when your boundaries are weak, you are vulnerable to manipulative people and bullies. I always say it's like having an invisible sign on your forehead that says, "Take advantage of me." And it's like this beacon written in invisible ink that only those bullies and narcissists and manipulative people can detect. But they're masters at detecting who of us is transmitting that secret signal. Have you ever wondered why this always happens to you over and over again, but not to other people? Well, chances are you've got that on your forehead. If you don't know what your boundaries are, like I hadn't got a clue what mine were, then no one else will either. And so you're effectively offering an open invitation to anyone and everyone to test them, to test where your boundaries are, and ultimately wound you. Does this make sense? And it may start as simple people-pleasing and annoying requests that you find it hard to say no to. But unless you build that strong sense of self-worth and rock-solid boundaries, then, as I found out the hard way, it can build to more and others starting to coercively control you. Does everyone know what coercive control means? It means it's a form of emotional abuse, and just testing your boundaries and then seeing where they're weak and then using that to control you, and then testing another boundary, using that to control you. It's emotional manipulation, and it is a really insidious form of brainwashing that's now deemed a crime, by the way, in the UK. It's so insidious. It's like the frog in the boiling water, that it doesn't realize it's boiling to death because the water, the hot water, just gets turned up little by little in increments until it's too late. It's boiled. That's what coercive control is. Testing your boundaries, pushing them, moving the goalposts, testing your boundaries, moving the goalposts, that sort of thing. And what happens is they take advantage of you and abuse you, in every way, financially, spiritually, emotionally, and even physically, like it was for me. So as I said, learning to say no was one of the hardest things for me. And as I said, I was terrified of confrontation and what that might mean, particularly that I would be rejected. I wouldn't be liked. I'd be rejected and abandoned. And rejection was the thing that I was most afraid of. What if people realize I'm not good enough? And then what happened was, for a while, when I learnt that I had no boundaries and I needed to set them, I went too far the other way. I became almost, I fought. I had this wall around me of Teflon that I built, and I was going to be on my guard, and I was going to set those boundaries, but I did it too aggressively. And yes, I may have fought off the bullies and narcissists or whatever, but I also was pushing everyone nice away. They're like, whoa, who is this person? We can't get near her. I was building a wall that was becoming my own prison and blocking out everyone nice that I desperately wanted to connect with and become friends or form relationships with. So it did take time. It's hard work. It takes time, and you need support to learn how to do this. But once I did get that, and I built my self-esteem, my confidence, my self-worth, and I learned the skills to navigate my way through this. And by that, I mean how to set boundaries in a non-confrontational but assertive way. Then I discovered the power of that 2-letter word, and strong boundaries is what will liberate you in life and love. I was able to say no to things that used to make me feel uncomfortable or make my gut stir, be true to myself and my core values and aligned with the person I really was and wanted to be, and say no to people who did not have my best interests at heart. It was only about them. They were using me. And once, the best part about it was that I didn't realize what happened was once I started to say no to things and people that wore me down and shattered my self-confidence and were only in it for themselves, beautiful opportunities started showing up in my life, ones that I wanted to say yes to, good people that brought out the best in me, that I was no longer pushing away through fear, events that I now was no longer frightened to say yes to, that I would not have ever had come my way when I was too busy being a martyr looking after the rest of the world but myself. Opportunities that would previously have scared me, that became my stepping stones to living my passion, my purpose, and led me to great success in my career. And yes, even to the man I married 33 years ago, who's brought me so much friendship, fun, laughter, and joy in my life. So I now set boundaries calmly, confidently, assertively, that tell others how I expect to be treated, and know the red lines that are my deal breakers if anyone crosses them. That says that I will say no and I will remove that person. They'll either listen and respect my boundaries, or I choose to not have them in my life anymore. And this has brought me really tremendous freedom. So if you are, hello, Crystal Jean and Tara TJ, thank you for joining me. And Crystal Jean says, I was in such a state of confusion and anxiety pretty much always. Well, you are when you're at the mercy of everybody else and you don't know who you are and what your boundaries are. You have no idea. So you sway like the wind and you let everyone else push you around. And it's like your whole internal worth is based on what happens outside of you, not coming from a place of strength within. So if you find this, a real struggle to say no and not know the difference between saying yes as a martyr to things that only hurt you or take advantage of you or strip you of self-confidence or whatever, and saying yes to the opportunities that are going to be what change your life, then book a call with me. I'll put the link in the description below, and I'll also put I have a few caveats. You know, this is not a call for everybody. This is a call for only for you. If you've now left toxic relationships, you are now on the way to rebuilding a successful career. You're doing pretty well in your life, but you're just stuck in breaking these patterns, like the martyrdom, the people pleasing, the saying no, not being able to say no. And hello, Jamie. Thank you for being here and saying thank you for this video. It's my pleasure. So book a call with me, vivianmcgrath.com/support. But please do, I will put some caveats as to who this call is for and who it's not for, because I don't want to waste both of our time. So if it is right for you, then book a call with me, vivianmcgrath.com/support. And I hope this video has been helpful for you. Thank you, Crystal, Tara, and Jamie, for your comments. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye for now.